But, serious face, okay. So I'm basically here to tell you a secret. I can read minds. Don't believe me? Well, to answer your question, all of your questions actually, clearly the answer is yes. This fat man can dress well. So thank you very much for being so kind. Thank you. Yeah, give it up. Also, some of the stats are going to be slightly depressing, so before we get there and you want to slit your wrists, please give yourselves a round of applause for being here and the last 2 days and supporting the speakers. We really do appreciate it. Please, really, thank you guys. Okay, so the age of the digital superhero. What is a digital superhero? What even defines a superhero? Well, according to Wikipedia, and I'm heavily paraphrasing here, but a superhero is a type of character or person possessing extraordinary abilities and superhuman powers. Does that not define every single person in this room? Not sure what I'm talking about? Well, we have the ability, yes, fat people, we rule the world. Now, we have the ability to take an idea or a vision, whether it's our own or a client's, and turn that into reality. We've got the skills and the tools to help someone start a business or grow their business, deliver new products and services, fantastic stuff. We're also fantastic problem-solving abilities. That's kind of why we're here. We can help our customers engage better with their customers, increase their sales, give them the tools they need to actually track information so they can make better business decisions. These are fantastic talents. And what's really special is it's not just our knowledge that's impressive, it's our ability to actually implement that knowledge. We can all go for Granny comes to you and says, well, I want to make my goods and I want to sell them online. You can say, yeah, well, here's WordPress, here's WooCommerce, here's PayFast. Do it, it's easy, you click. Do you think she could? Her head would explode and you'd be covered in granny blood. It's our ability to actually implement it. That's what makes us super. And it's not just that. Let's say there's been a business, they're losing to their competition. Why? They don't have an online presence. Do you think, Tanya who runs a little store knows anything about a digital presence? Of course not. That's why they come to you. You're the expert. Now, hearing this, we aren't exactly the most modest of professionals. So again, I can read your mind and you're sitting there thinking, I'm definitely extraordinary. I'm clearly talented, and I'll even go as far as to let you call me a superhero. But am I actually a hero? Could I actually do any good? I know my way around a laptop and how to clear my browser history, but can I fight crime with that? Can I actually do any good? When we look at real world problems, I can understand where you're coming from. I used to feel the same way. Just looking at some of the stats with issues in the world, there are currently over 790 million people that go to bed hungry every single night. That's 1 in 9. And to make it worse, about 20% of those people live in Africa, our own backyard. What about poverty? About 1/7 of the world's population lives below the poverty line. That's less than $1.25 a day. Not even 20 bucks. We can't even get a cup of coffee for that. And there are families living on that per day. Then there's also, while we're on the topic of people, I think it's about over 237,000 children are born every single day. Population growth is a massive problem, not just in Africa, but worldwide. And since we're talking about people, what about the 50 million refugees? And it gets even worse. We look at kids. 57 million children don't have access to schooling. And the sad truth is, a lot of those are actually girls. There's also, the disabled people. The latest stats, I think, was there's over 650 million people living with a disability. And of those, about 2% of the children living with disabilities in disadvantaged countries don't have access to any medical care or education. And of course, unemployment, which is very close to our heart. The experts predict that by 2019, we'll have about 212 million people unemployed. And the stats for South Africa estimated to be about 25% of the population. There's also the crime stats, but that is far too depressing, so I'm not even going to bother going there. Now, you're thinking, okay, well, geez, it's quite scary. Again, I can clear browser cache, I can make a plugin. How's that going to benefit anyone? And also, how does WordPress actually tie into any of this? I mean, WordPress can't directly feed a child, unless one of you makes a plugin that can make a sandwich, in which case, that's my idea and I want to check. Can't set up a factory, create clothing, and put those clothes on the homeless. There's a lot it can't directly do. Now, I know I sound like a bit of a hater, but I still love WordPress, and I'll tell you why now. The single most influential piece of technology I've ever owned is my smartphone. I've had hundreds of phones before, as I'm sure of you, but they were just phones. They didn't actually mean anything. This is a piece of me. It's my baby. It's changed the way I socialize, the way I run my business. It really is, like, if I lost this, I'm screwed. I'm dead. But when you think about it, I actually hate it to death. I mean, all it does is actually distract you. It just gets in the way. I mean, it's infuriating. I mean, here's a fantastic example of it. Look at that. How many times have you gone to a restaurant to walk past and you see a bunch of people looking down at their phones, not once bothering to actually look up and have a proper conversation? Or even worse, you're at a cinema, you're watching a good movie, some arsehole's phone rings, he answers it and he has a conversation. It's infuriating. Also, I tend to travel quite a lot. I was in South America a couple of weeks ago, and so I'm in this fantastic natural waterfall, wonder of the world, fantastic city, yada yada. 90% of the people are on their phones. Everyone's taking a damn selfie. Like, people taking selfies is too damn high. And then there's the selfie stick itself, which that's a whole other rant. Don't even go there. There's a circle of hell reserved for people with a selfie stick. So it's below the Nazis. Someone has to say it. So, I mean, there's a lot of problems. And again, all that the phone does is distract you. Has it actually done any good? Other than make Apple disgustingly wealthy, what good has it done? So this is kind of where WordPress comes in. WordPress, all that WordPress really does, all that it is when you think about it, is a tool for change. I mean, with WordPress, we can do amazing things. We can create, we can update, we can do so much. And there's so much that you don't even realize we can do. Now, how many people here, just by show of hands, know what a hackathon is? Don't be afraid. Okay, quite a few of you. How many here have actually been involved with a hackathon? Okay, no, that's a sad number of people. Now, for those of you who don't know what a hackathon is, it's basically an event where a bunch of talented people come together to solve a problem and do some good. Okay? And the WordPress Cape Town community last year decided to come together and organize a charity hackathon, this Do Action WordPress Charity Hackathon. And it was such a success, thanks to you, that they've actually turned it into an annual event. And June this year, we hosted the second event. Now, what's amazing is every year we've had on average about 50 volunteers, and these are developers, marketers, designers, project managers, as well as the organizations that were sponsoring Hetzner, once again helping us out. They sent representatives, they offered free hosting to the organizations and so on. And all these strangers basically got together for a day to help these non-profit organizations. And it's not just websites. People think it's just about a website. It's got nothing to do with that, really. It's about solving the problems of that organization. So you look at the entire brand, what are their goals? What are their achievements? What's restricting them? And then these experts can, sit down with them and say, well, this is what we should be doing. Let's create a strategy. It's not just one day of doing some stuff and then disappearing. It's so much more than that. Now, yes, that does mean a website, but at the same time, we've got skilled graphics designers. They looked at it and they said, well, let's create a new brand. Let's do a whole new logo. Helping them with social media. What platforms should you be using? What is your target market? Then the designers, again, creating a unified brand. There's so much that actually goes into it. Now, there is also kind of a competition aspect to it, where a bunch of judges, they review all the sites and they say, well, who actually solved most of the problems? And the funny thing is, when you talk to the people during the day, the volunteers, Not once do they say, oh, I'm here to win. It's about helping people. That's what they actually care about. The tone changes about 5 minutes before judging. And the death threats you get after someone's been announced is quite astronomical, but we won't even go there. But I'd like to show you some of the organizations that actually benefited from this year's event. So the winners from this year, and they're in the audience as well, was Food Bank South Africa. And as you can see from the stats there, they've basically provided over 12.7 million meals and delivered over 3.7 million kilograms of food and goods in the last year. I mean, that's an astronomical amount. I mean, we were talking about the 700 and odd million people that are starving. They're making a big difference. They also they take those goods and they distribute it to 450 MPOs all over the country. So they're really doing fantastic stuff. I really recommend you check out their site and see how you can get involved. We also spoke about, kids and education and how the girls kind of get the short end of the stick. But for Cape Town, they were actually here last year talking at the last WordCamp. They also benefited from this year's event. They do fantastic work. And again, it's all about educating girls in the technology industry, trying to get them back into the industry, helping local entrepreneurs with websites. And especially the people that are here, they're always looking for people to get involved. So please, once we're done, check out their websites, get involved. We could really make a difference. There's also the Academy for Adults with Autism. Again, fantastic organization. Please check them out. They're all about creating awareness and improving the quality of lives of people living with this disability. And they're doing fantastic work in that space. And then on that same theme with kids and disabilities, there's the Down Syndrome Inclusive Education Foundation. And basically, they're creating fantastic programs for pre-primary and primary schools, and talking to organizations, Down syndrome organizations and other organizations throughout the world and locally, trying to get them involved. And they're doing fantastic work in that space. You can also see there, this is the new website, and that's what they used to have. So it's an entire new brand, an entire new look and feel, and new website. Some really amazing stuff getting done there. Now, it's not just the hackathons that are actually doing good. The WordPress community is doing fantastic things out there. Werner is here somewhere. He's involved with this organization called Brothers for All. And what they're doing is they're basically, people in prison, they've got a far more chance of actually returning once they get released. It's a very sad truth. And what these people have found is that if you actually educate them and you teach them technology skills, they're far more likely to actually become productive members of society. And they've started money generating programs, and recently I think they've raised over 100,000 Rand for local communities. So they're doing fantastic work. And there's also these organizations, Scouting South Africa. Yes, people who go outside need a website, and they are currently powered by WordPress. And they're supported by the WordPress community, which is fantastic. The Western Cape Association for Persons with Disabilities, they're busy building a WordPress website as we speak, and that'll be up in the next few weeks. And then of course, featured on the WordPress website itself, we've got Cure and Invisible Children doing fantastic things. Now again, my mind-reading abilities. You're thinking, okay, well, I can't make 12 million meals unless you write that plugin. Again, send me the check. Or, you can't really help the people with disabilities. You can't improve their lives. What can we actually do? And better yet, does it actually work? So like I said, you donate a day of your time. Does it actually mean anything? Do those charities actually benefit from it? Are we making any differences? And now, I wasn't part of a team this year. I was helping with the training and one of the judges, don't kill me. But last year, for the first event, I was part of a team and we actually won. And it was for this organization, Feeding in Action. And they're also quite impressive. They basically serve about 5,000 meals per week. And they're doing fantastic work there. And when we met with them, they had no real brand. They had an old Wix website that hadn't been updated. They didn't even have the login details, so they couldn't update their own site. So when we met with them, we looked at it and we said, okay, well, let's create a new brand. And we were lucky enough to have Kobus from WooThemes on our team. He's actually the same guy that did the branding for this event. So you see, he does very sexy work. And he was able to create this whole new logo, this whole new brand. We looked at their social media, helped them set up MailChimp accounts, and actually created email campaign strategy and so on. And the great thing is, it's been a year since we've done this. So I thought, well, let me give them a call and find out how they're actually doing. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware as well, or maybe it's just me, when you're in IT, phone calls are never good. No one ever calls and says, hi Bruce, hope you're well, everything's running great, enjoy your weekend. It's normally, it's not working, fix it. So you can imagine my surprise and the joy when I called them up, just found out, hey, how's it going? After 12 months, they are still so enthusiastic and pleased and excited with the work that we did. I was completely overwhelmed. The amount of, for us, a day is nothing, but to them it completely changed the organization. So many people have contacted them because they've now found this out, to actually set up partnerships, find out about the feeding schemes and try and replicate that, not just within South Africa, but throughout Africa. So that's fantastic. Also the native SEO, we help them with proper strategy, getting them out there. Their traffic is increasing every single month. It's getting really, really good hits. And this has led to really big organizations wanting to partner with them. One example of this was the Ekiestad News, and one of the local radio stations, they teamed up with them to create this initiative called Stellenbosch Can. I'm not sure if you can see there, but they managed to raise over 15,000 cans of goods for the local community. And this is just one initiative. They also teamed up with KFM. I'm not sure how many of you listened to them, but recently for Mandela Day, they got together and they made and delivered sandwiches. So, it's fantastic work that they're doing. And this all came from us. So like I said, we can't directly feed a child, but our expertise, our knowledge, that's amazing. If we actually apply that to organizations like these, you may not think you're a superhero, you may not think you look like a superhero, but if you talk to those organizations, you are. You're a godsend. You made a massive impact. And as you saw the stats in the world we're living in, everyone's predicting the whole world's going to crash after the 25th of this month. We really need people like us to get involved. So before we get there, good old Steve Jobs, everyone read this, you know the quote. But it's very important, I think, that we actually get involved. Like I said, we've got the talent, we can make the time. One day out of 365, it's not going to kill you. But again, that could change the lives of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And again, that was a handful of 50 volunteers over 2 years. And that's just one single event. If every single person in this room decided to use their skills and get involved with an organization, and we spread that, and every other event we go to, the same thing happens. We could affect the lives of millions of people. We could actually make a difference. And then this really does become true. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels. I'll add the hipsters, because there seem to be a lot of you. The troublemakers, the round pegs and the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of the rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, you can disagree with them, you can glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward, and while some may not see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. So let's be the crazy ones, let's actually make a difference. I really encourage you to visit the WP Cape Town website. I'm sure most of you have already. Check out some of these events. Check out the charities that were involved and the other NPO organizations. And we really encourage you to get involved from this point on. Like we showed, it doesn't even have to be a hackathon. Find a charity out there that has a terrible website or no presence or anything. Contact them. Get involved. Really make a difference. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Do we have any questions?
Don't ask me, ask the charities, contact them directly. As you can see, I'm not good with people. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Bruce. That was great.